I've been real excited about preaching this tonight. And as I said Monday night, I have to give you where my heart is at. And this is where my heart has been. My heart sometimes is still in the hospital down in Birmingham with that baby at Children's Hospital. And I don't know that we've totally got over that. Don't know how that's going to affect our lives. I would like you to pray for Marley. She has had a good day, but we've been noticing some blood in her stool, and we had it checked last week, and the doctor said it is blood, and we don't know where it's coming from. And it could be due to the fact of an allergy that she's receiving from mom. It could be due to the fact that she's breastfed. It could be due to the fact that all the medications that she's on to prevent her heart from going into an arrhythmia. We don't know. But Thursday morning we'll have to check back into the hospital as an outpatient, and they're going to try to figure out why she's bleeding. So it just seems like when one thing gets fixed, another thing tears up. And that gets discouraging for moms and dads. Yeah. It gets discouraging. It's hard to sleep at night. And I had to ask the Lord, when we got home from the hospital, you could imagine the first night home was horrible. Afraid that something's going to happen in the middle of the night, because the doctor told us on Christmas morning when Angie woke up to change her diaper, he told her when we got to the hospital and they had air flighted her there, he said to her, honey, you probably saved her life by getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and changing her diaper. And what he don't know is God woke her up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But the fear of going to bed at night while she's asleep. So there's a lot of things going on in me and Angie's life that's complicated right now. But it's not anything that others haven't been through. And sometimes people have been through worse than what we're going through. But when it hits your home, it just seems to highlight, doesn't it? And in between all this stuff that's going on, God, in His mercy, has taught me some things. And it's where my heart's at tonight in Psalms 62. Psalm 62. Now we dealt last night in Psalms chapter 32. So we're going to Psalm 62 tonight. It's what the Lord has put upon my heart. Toward the end of the message, if Marley's not asleep, I'm going to get her and I'm going to show her to you and let you see just how pretty she is and how much she looks like her daddy. Me and Mama's been arguing over that ever since she's been born. But the Lord's put something on my heart to do. Psalms chapter number 62. I'm going to grab a little phrase in here. This is a great chapter. When you get home, you ought to read it. Yeah. But I want to bring out one little phrase here. Not a lot of Bible reading tonight, but I want to show you something that God highlighted in my soul right in the middle of our circumstance. It's found in verse number 8. And he says these words. Trust in Him at all times. And when I read that, I thought maybe the Bible had an error in it. Trust in Him at all times. Do you mean even when we're at the hospital? Do you mean even, Lord, when we're having to go to the graveyard? Do you mean, Lord, even when the bills are not paid? And then even when they are. Trust in Him at all times. I never saw this, and normally I would stop right there and get into the message. But I saw this today sitting in my van. When you got 7 kids in the motel room, you go to your van to study. Somebody say there could be a key to this, and I'm going to have to study it out to really appreciate it. But he also said that same verse. After he said to trust in Him at all times, he gave us a little bit of clue how to do it. Yeah. We got to pour our heart out. Yeah. We got to give it all. Yeah. If we're going to trust in Him, He's not going to take 50-50. We got to pour our heart out. And then it gets to verse number 9 and starts talking about men that can hinder us from trusting in Him. He said you can't trust in men of low degree. Why would you trust in them? They ain't got nothing to give you. And then those that are of high degree, they've got it to give, but they ain't going to give it to you because they're greedy. He's letting you know, don't trust in man. They're going to let you down. Don't trust in money. It's going to let you down. But trust in me at all times and pour your little heart out to God.
Amen.
It's the key to trusting into Him at all times. It's the key. I've not graduated yet. I'm still learning this. Please understand that. I'm not a scholar at this verse. I'm learning how to trust in Him at all times. He's teaching me how to trust in Him at all times. I want to preach on this subject right here. Trusting in, watch this phrase, the will of God in your life. Now I want you to think about this title. Trusting in the will of God for your life. Now, why I added in your life or for your life is because I don't have a problem trusting God for you.
Amen. That's right.
And you don't have a problem trusting God for me.
Amen.
As a matter of fact, I've heard it all month. Preacher, just trust in the Lord now. He'll see you through it.
Yeah.
And that sounds good, and it sounds biblical, and I'm grateful that it is, and it makes you look spiritual. But honey, this trusting thing is much more than just talking it out of your mind.
Amen.
When it comes to living it, business is going to pick up.
Amen.
I told my church, I said, church, it's easier for me to preach this stuff than it is to live this stuff.
Yeah.
Trusting in the will of God, the will of God for my life is what I want to preach on tonight. I can trust in it for other people. I guess what sparked all this was I was on the elevator with a very enthusiastic African-American lady. And she was a religious woman. She had on a t-shirt about the Lord. And I got on the elevator with her at Children's Hospital in Birmingham. And she said, "How's your baby?" And I said, "She's doing better. How's yours?" "Oh, mine's great." And she looked at me and gave me a Bible lesson. And here's what she said. You got to trust in the Lord. You've got to trust in the Lord. Honey, just turn it all over to Him. And I got a Joyce Myers message from about the 8th floor to the 1st floor. I didn't say a word. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have room to say anything. You got to trust in the Lord is what you got to do. You got to give Him your all. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me, white boy? Are you listening to me? You got to trust in the Lord. And then she left and the doors closed and I stood there numb. I didn't tell her I was a preacher. I was going to tell her I was an oil rigman or something if she was to have asked me. But when those doors closed, here's what I said, and here's what God's teaching me. Listen to this, church. It's not that I don't trust God. I believe God can do anything. I believe God can do anything He wants to do. You know what Carl Partain's problem is trusting that He will. Are you listening to me? I can trust in His cans because I've seen Him do it time and time again. My problem is trusting if God will do this in my life. When Brother Partain trusts in his cans, I'm trusting in God's ability to do something. But when I'm trusting in His will, I'm trusting in His, don't let this word disturb you, sovereignty. His will in my life.
Right.
Letting God having his will and his way with me.
Yes.
Come on,
Now that's much easier told than it is lived.
Amen.
I had a man, and I do this all the time, Brother Denton Farmer. They thought he might have cancer. And he went to the doctor. The doctor said, you got problems. You're going to have a test done. Some don't look right. And boy, we've been praying all weekend. We fell on our face and begged God to help him. And the church gathered around. I got up Sunday night and said, Denton, come down here. Let's pray again. We gathered around him and prayed. And he called me this morning. He said, or Monday morning, he said, Brother Carl, just got the results. Praise God, no cancer.
Amen.
And we rejoiced in that. But I sat there, I couldn't help it. I sat there and thought to myself, what if it was cancer?
Amen. Come on.
Bless him, Lord.
Would we still trust in his will? I say to myself, I've got a baby that's alive. But there has been mamas and daddies to have to go to the grave and bury one. It seems the only way we want to trust in God is when he does what we want him to do.
Amen.
But when he goes another route and does his will instead of doing what you want him to do, sometimes we lose our trust in a holy God.
Amen.
Bless him, Lord.
I'm talking about trusting in his will. Not in your wants.
Come on.
Not if God can, but trusting in his will.
Bless him.
I'll save you a lot of heartache. I've got books in my library. I've got books lining the shelf on knowing God's will.
Bless him, Lord.
Yeah, everybody's got a book out there. Knowing God's will. Pursuing God's will. Understanding God's will. I hadn't seen the first book that said trusting in his will.
That's right.
You've heard the story, and just come to me. I don't have it wrote down. It just come to me. You remember that story, little cute story about the man that he walked across that. What's that canyon out there in the west? The Grand Canyon. They pulled that tightrope across the canyon. You remember that story? That just dawned on me. And he walked across that on that tightrope, walked all the way across. And everybody around was just, woo, yes, yes, yes. He said, you think I can walk back? Yes, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Sure enough, he got on that rope, he walked all the way back to the other side, and everybody went into an uproar. Woo, he did it, yes, yes, yes. He said, how many think I can do it pushing a wheelbarrow? Yeah, buddy, you can do it. You better believe it. You walked across it. Wheelbarrow ain't nothing. You can do it. And that's where he said, I need a volunteer to get in.
Come on.
Needless to say, nobody got in the wheelbarrow.
Amen.
That's how we do God. We stand on the sidelines of the church. We stand on the sidelines of Christianity, and we cheer it on, and we say we trust, and we say we're going to believe in God, but we ain't willing to really trust in his will for our lives.
That's good preaching.
Trusting in the will of God. Trusting him at all times. That's trusting in God's will for our life. That's big stuff there. Trusting in God's will. Have to get to the point, Brother Frankie, and Lord's working on me now.
Now you go ahead.
He's working on me. He's working in my life as a preacher. Oh, I hope I mature after all this is over. But he's working on me and trying to get me to understand that live or die, sink or swim, whether there be poverty or whether there be prosperity, I've got to learn to trust in the will of God concerning Carl Partain.
Bless you.
Right.
And that's hard to do,
That's
friends.
hard to do.
That's hard to do, especially when things ain't going your way.
Amen.
Bless him.
Trust in him at all times.
Bless him, Lord.
You know what that means? I'm sure there's an explanation, a good definition for what it really means, but here's what I wrote down. You know what it meant to me, trusting in God at all times? It meant to me good times and bad times. It meant to me that when I was healthy, I trusted Him, and when I'm sick, I have to trust in Him. I have to trust in Him when I got money in the bank, and I have to trust in Him when I ain't got a dime to my name. I have to trust in Him when there's food on the table, and then I have to trust in Him when I don't have anything to eat. I have to trust in Him when my family is in harmony, and then I have to trust in Him when my family's even in disarray. Because that same God, hallelujah, that same God that formed the sunshine in your life is the same God that'll put a little rain in your life. The same God that formed the rose will be the same God that puts the thorn in your life. It's the same God. Same God that created happiness is the same God that created heartache. The same God that created life is the same God that created death. The same God that created delight is the same God that creates disaster.
Bless Him, Lord.
Oh, if I could learn to say with Job, though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him. Though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him. If anybody seen some disaster, it was old Job. And he reared back and said, you can take it all away, Lord. I'm sticking with you. Honey, that is trusting in God's will for your life. David said, although deceitful men oppress me, and although deceitful men seek my life, I will trust in Thee, Lord. Amen. Trusted in the Lord. These men were saying, come what may. Right. Makes no difference to me. Let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to trust in God. Now listen, I've already said it once, but that's much easier said than it is done. And you better be careful, you good little Baptist, making a statement like, yes, I trust in the Lord. I trust you, Lord. You trusting in God as long as everything's flowing right. But boy, when you fall in them valleys, Terry, I have never prayed angry in my life. Now, maybe you have. But when I come to God, sometimes there's a humility about me that I'm dealing with something so holy. Most of the time my prayers are humble prayers. But at Children's Hospital in Birmingham, I prayed angry for the first time in my life. We was laying in that hospital, and they was trying to get her heart into rhythm. And that baby she wouldn't flatline, she wouldn't code blue, but she'd code red. That heart would freeze. And the blood pressure, you'd see it on the screen. It'd go down, 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 down. Then it went to nothing. That let them know no pressure in her lungs, no pressure in her brain. The blood was gone. The heart was froze. And then it would start beating again. And then it would freeze. Run up to 250, 260 beats per minute. And then it would come back to normal and start beating again. And every time that girl, I know 4 times it happened in the middle of the night, and me and Angie was so distraught. One of the nurses was real kind, and she looked at us and she said, I hate to startle y'all, but I'm going to have to pull code on her. And she'd mash that button, and the alarm would start sounding. Here come 20 doctors coming in there flooding around that baby. And I mean, they were ready. One had paddles in the hand, going to shock her. And one said, give me this, give me that, pull this in here, pull this in there. And people running everywhere, and then Marley would pull out of it. And that heart would start beating again. 4 times in one night. You finally lay down, and then the light comes on, code red, code red, code red. And buddy, my heart, we couldn't take anymore. I mean, this was killing us. And you know what the devil was saying? Oh, look at you, preacher. Going around helping everybody else in the country, and your own family's having to suffer. Oh, look at you, preacher, over there, pastoring a church and trying to help people that barely surviving, hospital.
Bless him.
Spent my life helping people. My daddy spent his life helping people. That's all our family's ever known, is helping other people. And now the devil's saying, look where you are, big boy.
Come on, man.
And that built up in me.
Yeah.
Now I'm being transparent. I know when you go to college and you're a professional preacher, you know, they tell you, don't share your life now. People don't want to hear all that. I just throw my guts out on the floor and let you see it all. I'm telling the truth. Man, I was so distraught. My wife had cried. I had cried. We tried to find God and it just seemed like nothing was right. I went down in the children's hospital in Birmingham to the meditation room. They wouldn't call it a chapel anymore. It's called a meditation room, but honey, I didn't go in there to do yoga either. Hallelujah.
Bless him.
I got in there, nobody was there. Stained glass window. They tried to make it look pretty. And Zach, I'd never done it before in my life, but I sat down in the corner like a little baby. And I just got up against that wall. And I cried for a long time, and then I started going, God! Oh, God! And I was praying that way. Mad. I was so mad. I was saying, God! If you don't do something, she's gonna die! I was mad. I was mad. I'm confessing. I was mad.
Don't touch you.
Bless him.
And God began working me. Things changed, preacher. Well, later on it got better. But God started teaching me, hey boy, calm down. You're not trusting in my will. What if I say the baby needs to have an arrhythmia every once in a while? Might reminded me of Job when he said, where was you, big boy? When I told the ocean it can only come so far, where were you at? You wasn't even thought of. When I took my hand and formed the mountains and the valleys, and took my finger and formed all the rivers in this world, where was you at? The God of heaven, in His all-powerful knowledge and wisdom, if we could just learn to trust that come what may, we're putting our trust in God's perfect will for our lives, whether little Marley has to live or whether she has to die.
Bless him.
Well, that's tough, isn't it?
That's tough.
Did I just say a mouthful?
That's a mouthful. Amen.
And this thing ain't over, Terry. Baby, still got a long way to go. And I'd hate to know, it'd break my heart, and you'd see me cry some bitter tears if we had to go to Cedartown and bury that little baby close to my mother somewhere. But God's teaching me, son, you've got to trust in my will for your life. I've seen people get mad and leave the church and leave the things of God because they felt like God done something in their lives.
Bless him.
I've seen them do that. I've got kinfolk who go to church today because their daddy's in a wheelchair. If God was a loving God, why He put my daddy in a wheelchair? It's the difference of trusting in God and trusting in the will of God. It's hard to do. And honey, when things don't go your way, when things don't go your way, you've got to trust in His will.
Bless him.
I've said this before, but it's a wonderful saying of mine. I love to repeat it. When you can't trace the Lord, you've got to trust the Lord. When you can't figure Him out, honey, that's where you got to start faithing Him out.
Amen.
And that is mighty hard to do.
Yes, sir.
It's what the Lord gave me, Brother Frankie. I looked up the word trust, see what it meant. Numerous definitions. I mean, you find definitions all day long. I've done an acrostic of the word trust. Y'all know what acrostic is? Where you put trust down the page, T-R-U-S-T, and then you write out what that letter means. It's an acrostic. T-R-U-S-T. I wrote that down on this piece of paper, Brother Frankie. T-R-U-S-T, going down the paper. That's what they call an acrostic. And I said, Lord, I don't want to Google it. I want you to teach me what trust is.
Bless him.
What is trust from you to me? Just a one-way connection here, Lord, me and you. I don't want man's opinion. I don't even want to know what Noah Webster has to say. I want you to teach me what trust means to Carl Partain. And here's what he gave me. Oh my goodness. The T stands for truth.
Sure.
Now, it might not be what it means to you. It's what it meant to me. The T stands for truth. You must know the truth before you can trust. And what is the truth, Brother Carl? Here's the truth. I'm fixing to declare it to you. When you trust, you might not get it your way, but you'll always get it God's way.
Amen.
Now, Daddy, you got to know the truth about trusting in Him. You might not get it like you want it, but you'll always get it like God wants it.
Amen.
Mama, you got to understand the truth before. I saw this today. If you don't get the truth, it takes the first T away, and the word trust becomes rust. And that's one thing you don't want is rusty relationship with God.
Bless him.
You've got to know the truth. You've got to know the truth. The truth is, when you set yourself in God's arms and say, all right, your show.
Amen.
I'm going to do what you tell me to do. Just like we said last night, I'm going to hoist up the mainsail. I'm going to knock the rudder off the back and all the guides, take the steering wheel off. And Lord, wherever the wind blows me, I'm going with you.
Amen.
You got to be careful when you say that, Mama.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wind might blow your direction,
Yeah.
but it'll always blow God's direction.
Amen.
Bless him, Lord.
Trust. T. Truth. And then that R. Here's what the Lord said to me. The R stands for you, Carl, relying on the Lord alone. Now here's where I have a problem. Here's where things start picking up. I can rely on the Lord with Frankie Green. He's my buddy. I can prop on him. I can rely on the Lord with my family. They're proppable. I rely on the Lord when I'm among my church people. But do you rely on the Lord alone?
Amen.
Just Him?
Bless him, Lord.
Whether you have family to scotch you up, whether you have friends to scotch you up, whether you got a preacher to scotch you up or not, do you trust in Him alone?
Bless him.
That's what the Lord said to me, Mr. Partain. He's down there banging his fist on the altar. Your problem, Mr. Partain, is not that you don't trust me. Oh, you trust me a lot. You just don't trust me alone.
Bless him, Lord.
Are y'all listening to me?
Amen.
Hey, y'all the ones that said you wanted revival. We're trying to get the next step.
Amen.
Bless him.
Bless him, Lord.
Trusting in God's will alone.
Come on.
If nobody helps me, if nobody sends a card, if nobody gives me any money, if nobody sends me a goodie bag up at the hospital, I'm trusting in the will of God for my life.
Amen.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Can we get there? It's been a pretty serious revival.
Yes, sir.
It has been. Have y'all noticed that every message is serious?
Bless
It's
him.
not just, and I'm not saying that because I'm a great preacher, but everything's been serious.
Amen.
Bless him, Lord.
God's trying to get serious with Trinity.
Yeah, getting us ready.
That's what He's doing. Trust, the T, truth. The R, relying on God alone. That you, here's what the Lord gave me. It's found in the King James Bible. Unfeigned faith. Unfeigned.
Come on.
Y'all remember that word Paul was talking to Timothy? And he said to Timothy, he said, I see it in you too, boy. What are you talking about, Paul? He said, that grandmama and that mama of yours. That's what he told Timothy. He said that grandmother of yours and that mama of yours had an unfeigned faith.
Bless him.
And he said, Timothy, I see that in you. Paul told Timothy that. Young man, I see that in you. You have that ability of unfeigned faith. You know what unfeigned means? Undisguised. It means you don't have to put on church.
Bless him.
You don't have to come to church hollering and screaming and get out and put your Baptist face on.
Yeah.
Bless him.
You don't have to cuss all week at work and come up here and act spiritual.
Bless him.
I'm feeling good right now.
Bless him.
Huh? You don't have to live that wicked life and then come over here and put on a disguise to make everybody think you're saved, sanctified, and going to heaven.
Bless
That's
him.
right. No disguise. No disguise. You are who you are. And you are who you are by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And if God does anything in you or about you or through you, it'll be through His grace and mercy.
Amen.
Bless him.
That's unfeigned faith. It's undisguised. There was another definition. What was it? Unfeigned, undisguised, unfraudulent. That's what the other one was. No fraud about you. We went to, I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was Universal Studios in Florida for somebody's graduation. Somebody graduated, and we went down, I believe it was Ivy. We went down there with a graduation gift to her, Universal Studios. And they have this street that looks like New York City. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can walk. I mean, it's paved, fire hydrants, buildings lined up. You can even look at a distance, and it looks like skyscrapers. But you know what them things are? It's what they call facades.
Yeah.
They ain't real.
Bless him, Lord.
Their stores are fronted that appears to be real, but behind is just steel and stuff holding up that board up.
Yeah.
And it got all the way down there where it looked like it was skyscrapers, and it wasn't skyscrapers at all. It was a 4D effect. And if you look at it from a distance, it appeared to be a city, but when you got closer, they just had the boards positioned just right to where it made your eye think you were in New York City. That's what they call facades. Appear to be right on the outside.
Bless him.
Oh, God.
But they ain't right on the inside.
Bless him.
Unfraudulent.
Bless him.
Don't have to come to church and put up a facade. God knows who you are anyways.
Amen.
Why don't you just be who you are? Come down an altar and say, God, it's me. I'm a sinner. And I need help. And I'm trusting in you alone.
Bless
And I want to have an unfeigned faith. Unfraudulent, undisguised. That's what God said to me. Here's another one. The S. T-R-U-S. I hadn't done this one yet. I hadn't accomplished it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways. Secure without any fear. Haven't made that yet. Secure without any fear. No. I've still got some of that fear.
Amen.
I'm trying to learn to go to bed and say, Lord, take care of Marley. I do that every night. Lord, keep her oxygen level. She's on the heart monitor. She's got one of them oxygen things. For me and you, if we went to the doctor and they put one of them oxygen meters on us, you know, we go in the 90s, right? 90 plus, 94, 96. That's good for us. We get plenty of oxygen in our lungs and in our blood. Marley's ranges from 78 to 84. That's good for her because of her situation. She's got that stent that's even allowing that. Doctor said if it falls under 75, we're going to have to get concerned. We're going to have to do something. And she's in a position now where they're either going to have to do another heart cath later if her heart don't do right and balloon that stent back open, or they're going to have to do open heart surgery and do what they call a Glenn procedure, where they're going to attach part of her a vein to the top of her heart and route it all the way to her lungs so she can have a normal functioning life. We don't want that.
No.
And if I had my ruthers, I'd just say, Lord, heal that right ventricle. Just make it big and let's get this over with. I don't want to do that. But that's what I want. The hard part is saying, Lord, if you think she needs that open heart surgery, then that's what we're going to do.
Bless him.
That's hard.
God's trying to teach Brother Partain to trust in His will.
Bless him.
Not in His cans. I know he can. Trust in His will. Will He? Not up to me. Will He heal her? Will she have to have this? Will she live? Will she die? I don't know. It's not up to me. When you trust in His will.
Bless him, Lord.
Bless him.
What about that circumstance you're facing right now? Are you secure in the Lord without any fear?
Come on,
There you
preacher.
go.
No, sir.
Be anxious for nothing. That's what the Bible says. Oh, that's easy said. But try to live that stuff.
Come on, bro.
Try to live that stuff.
Bless him, Lord.
Try to live that trust. Try to live resting in His arms. It's much different than preaching it.
Yes, sir.
It's much different than teaching it in Sunday school.
Amen.
It's much different than reading it in your Bible and teaching everybody what the word trust means. Honey, you have to live it.
Hey.
Truth, T. Relying on the Lord alone, R. Unfeigned faith, U. Secure without fear, S. And then there's that last T. And I almost didn't write it down. Lord gave it to, and I almost didn't write it down. I said, that don't make any sense. I did, and I'm being honest. I said, I'm writing that down. There's another T out there I can put that.
Bless
You
him.
know what the Lord gave me? You ain't gonna believe it. Thankful. Wait a minute, that don't fit, preacher. Truth and being secure and unfeigned faith, them are all powerful things. And then you get down to the end, and if I'm going to trust, I've got to be thankful. Trust in the Lord at all times. I've got to be thankful when He does something I don't want Him to do. I got Bible to back it up. Are you ready? You got a King James Bible? 1 Thessalonians. If I'm not mistaken. I'm going to prove it to you. 1 Thessalonians chapter number 5. Y'all can turn if you like. You got the right Bible. You got a Mickey Mouse Bible, I might not can help you. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Guys, let me see. Verse number 18. Watch this. I'm talking about being thankful. Watch this. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse number 18. In everything, good Lord, give thanks. Did he just say everything? He said everything. Well, watch this. It didn't stop there. For this is the what?
Will of
God. Yes, sir.
Will.
Bless him.
It's the will of God that I be thankful for everything. Everything. Church, I know y'all shouted it out Sunday.
Bless him.
But me and Brother Frankie, I think, has determined what God's doing. He lets you really have a good shout-out weekend. But now you've got to that point to where He's wanting you to take a step higher with Him.
Come on, preacher.
Now, there's a lot of churches that shout it out every weekend, but they don't have a clue about trusting in God.
Bless him, Lord.
You listen to me. There's people that'll go through the formalities of church and don't have a clue what the Bible even says.
Hey.
Bless him.
Don't know why they are what they are. They just do what they do because they was raised that way. Church, I believe with all my heart, God's wanting you to take a step up the rung of the ladder. He's wanting to teach you something this week. that you will draw closer to Him. Hey, you ain't seen nothing. You think Sunday night was good? That wasn't even scratching the surface to the heaven you can have.
Bless Him, Lord.
If you'll just take that next step. Down here, you're shouting the rafters off. But God said, wait a minute, time out. I'm going to give you 3-day time out. And I'm going to let that preacher chalk a line for you. Here's what I want Trinity to do. And the leaders of Trinity to do. I want you to come with me. Get up here, I'm going to teach you something. Monday night, we arrived here because we learned how to put some bitterness behind us. When we get past that, now God's saying, now I'm going to teach you how to trust in my will. I'm going to teach you how to trust in my will.
Yeah.
Not your will, not your way, but my way.
Come on.
And then we're going to take another step. Wonder what He's going to do tomorrow night. I'm out of steps. We might go to heaven. I don't know. Church, God's teaching you something. Are you hungry? Preacher said it right off the bat. Are you hungry?
Bless Him, Lord.
Has little Marley made it back yet? Back? Go see if Mama's available. I want to give you what the Lord gave me. On the way over here. Riding to church tonight. If she can't come, it's okay. I don't have to have her. Lord's working on Brother Partain. And y'all just happen to have to hear it right in the middle of all this. I was coming to church tonight. Anybody got any Germex? Come on. I believe that guy right here. Angie comes equipped, baby. I'll show you something. All right. Let me have that passage so we don't drop it. Told Wavy. I said, Waverly, write this down when I was on the way over here. She wrote it down for me. Nothing more than the will of God. Nothing less than the will of God. Nothing else but the will of God. Now that's hard to say when you're holding this little bundle of joy. Now I know she don't look sick. I know she's beautiful. Looks like her daddy, right? And I know she don't look like she's got a lot of problems. Boy, but it's mighty hard for me to take this thing that I love and loves me and lay her down and say, God, nothing more, nothing less,
Bless Him, Lord.
nothing else
Blessing.
Right.
but your perfect will.
Come on now.
Can't do that, preacher. I know. That's why we're at a Tuesday night meeting and I'm having to preach to you. And I really don't know that I have arrived there yet. But I'm telling you what God's doing to me. Lay this little precious thing down at God's feet. We're going to have a dedication service Sunday night.
Amen.
Guess who's coming to my church Sunday night? Big Earl.
Bless Him.
And all my family's coming to the church. And Angie's family's coming. And we're going to lay little Marley down on the altar and say, Lord, she's yours. All yours, Lord. Come what may. Let the chips fall where they will. We're trusting in you. And your will.
Bless Him.
I got Wavy to write this down. I might have to preach it Sunday. The difference between a judge and God himself. God is a judge. Let me tell you about an earthly judge. A judge makes decisions in your life based on facts. God makes decisions based on your future.
Hey.
Blessing, Lord.
He looks at your future and says, how can I get more glory out of Carl Partain's life? And it
Blessing.
becomes his will. A judge makes decisions based on motivation, or which lawyer can tell the best story. You know what God does? He makes decisions based on your spiritual maturity. Where He wants you in your spiritual life. That's what God does. You might not have a sick baby. Some of you do. I noticed somebody told me tonight there was a little one in here that had to have an operation on his head when he was born. Some of you have been through all this. You know about this. There was a girl I met last night. Is she here the other night? 14 years old, right? Her daddy told me she has an almost identical to what Marley has right now. And she's 14. Well, that gave me some hope.
Amen.
He said, she's cheerleading. I said, praise God. Not that she's cheerleading, but, you know, that she's active.
Blessing.
That thrilled me. Man, that thrilled me. It gave me a little hope. But what if, Frankie?
God knows who you do. Right.
She got to live. What if she don't?
Come on, preacher.
That's where we got to learn. God, teach me. That's where I've got to learn to trust in your will for mine and Angie's life and my family. We can talk about it all day long, but until we learn how to do it, are we really succeeding? You say, preacher, I just can't get there. Well, you take a step back down then. Come back down here and get all that bitterness out first.
Blessing, Lord.
And maybe one day, with me, you can step up and say, Lord, come what may. Come what may, God. Come what may, God. Boy, if we could ever get there. If we could ever get there in our lives. God help us. God help us to understand that. Wavy, I still trust you. Let's try it. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll just get to it and maybe Becky can take the lead in the chorus or something like that. We'll figure it. Come up here and get that transferred over back and get it cranked up. I'm going to hold little Marley as long as she's quiet.
Yeah.
Blessing.
I'll get some bad diapers with her mama saying that. God's speaking, brother Frank.
Amen.
I'm telling you, God's already using this baby to speak to people.
Amen, sir.
He done Jude the same way, didn't he? Little Jude, born with heart trouble. Ain't no telling. Y'all know, remember me setting him up on stage when he was just a little boy? And he just sang his little heart out. Give them all to Jesus. That was his song. He said, I don't sing that one anymore. That's for kids. He's got an adult song now. Come here, buddy. He was born with tetralogy. So for love. That's a hole in the heart. He had open heart surgery at 6 months. His sister's case is a little bit worse than his. His was more of a do surgery, fix it, and go home. And have to deal with the consequences later of maybe having to have a valve put in. Marley's is totally different. She's got a long road to go. But I look back at him and think about how many people this boy's life has touched. He's touched some of you sitting here tonight.
Amen.
Blessing.
And now Marley, her first revival. Brother Frankie, this is her first revival. Maybe she'll get saved. That's that baby's first revival with her daddy. And I love my daddy with all my heart. First revival. And she's already touching people's lives, and she don't even know she exists.
Bless him.
And we could say, why, God? Why can't we have a healthy child? And God just reminds me, well, because you got to go to Trinity Baptist Church in January of 2018 and share with them about God's will in her life and yours. That was His plan. And the Lord's speaking to you tonight. Hey, Mama, you trust in God's will? Well, you don't know what happened. And you trust in His will? I don't know why I had to bury Mom, Terry. You know she's a good woman. Earl Jr. died at 47. I wonder why my daddy has to suffer so much. Dad's got a bad back, bad neck. He's lost feeling in 3 fingers right there. Man called him for revival today, and he said, I can't do it. Can't do it. Dad only preaches on Sunday mornings. He can't preach on all day. He gets his young preachers to preach for him on Sunday night. Lost feeling in those 3 fingers. And I'll see him come over to the house, and he'll go, ooh. The arms give out on me. And I say, why, Lord? He's been so faithful to you. He just celebrated 50 years in the ministry. 50 years. Lord, He's been faithful to you. But there's times you got to trust in God's perfect will for your life. Perfect will. I don't know what kind of praying you need to do, but I got a feeling God's talking. And we need to do business. I still trust you, Lord. Sing it, girls.
Are you looking for a place to worship God in spirit and in truth? Hello, I'm Frankie Green, pastor of Trinity Baptist Church in Auburn, Georgia. We would like to invite you to be in our service with us. Sunday school starts at 10 with morning worship at 11. Sunday evening worship begins at 6 and Wednesday night prayer service at 7. We are a King James Bible-believing, fundamental, independent Baptist church reaching out to those who need a special touch from God. For more information, you can visit us at TrinityBaptistAuburn.com or on Facebook at Trinity Baptist Church Auburn. We welcome you to Trinity Baptist Church, where you will become part of a family.